So we're now monitoring feedback, and of course there is no feedback on a dynamic cutter head. Also, it's also a lot of distortion in various frequency ranges on a dynamic cutter head that has zero EQing going on. So let's pull up a song here that I know is going to tweak things out a little bit more. So like I can hear distortion in Frank Sinatra's vocals. Wow, yeah, that I would say that it has some frequencies that are accentuated. So what's going on here? Well, let me tell you what's going on here. This is just simply a dynamic transducer, no feedback. And this is the same exact form factor as the ones that are in there. So this is exactly how big mine are. I think that that's actually pretty small. The feedback style is not that much bigger. Here's feedback. Fairly close in size. The only difference is height. Everything else is exactly the same, which means that when I start to market Bladerunners, when you buy one, it will come wired for feedback. Even though you may buy a dynamic cutter head from me, it will be feedback ready. All that will have to be changed out are the transducers to become a feedback cutter head. So let's disconnect 1.G.2. Okay, and you'll get cabling as well. You'll get wiring, all the wiring that you need. And I'm going to start to sell turnkey cutting drive systems. So you can buy preamp, you can buy the amplifier, you can buy ammeter, heating, power supply, fuses, all in one rack unit separate from the preamp, or I can build all of that into a 3U rack unit, or you can just buy this 2U rack unit as well as a cutter head. There'll be a turnkey drive system that will include cabling. So here we go. Here is going to be the same song. I'm just going to start it over at the beginning. Okay. And here we go. Now we can actually see some feedback too. And I mean, even just over here, this sounds better. But let me, of course, as always, put the torque tube up to the phone.
Best is yet to come, and babe, won't that be fine? Youth think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine. Wait till the warm-ups.
Now, you know, there was some joking around on the board from someone else making a cutterhead about me putting the phone up to the torque tube, like, you know, that's some kind of magical routine or something. And let me explain why I do that, because there is a perfectly good reason for it. The reason is this. You can listen to this guy with your, you know, with your ears, with your bare ears. My scope got stuck to the feedback magnet. So you can listen to this guy with your ears. Doesn't really tell you much. You can take this, put your finger on it, and then put your finger up to your ear, and that will allow the vibrations to translate through. That helps. That gives you a lot better idea of the clarity of the sound and if it's distorting, where it's distorting, right? It gives you sort of an insight as to what this is going to sound like when you actually apply it to disc and start cutting. So, you know, the finger method is one way, just doing this and then putting your finger right there, right about right there, into, you know, the hollow of your ear, and you can then hear it pretty well. Or you can use something like this, which is what I use very frequently. Okay, this is for, you know, mechanics to find noises in engines and cars and stuff. You know, you can take this and you can stick it onto the torque tube, and you can listen with the little earbuds. You can actually hear, you know, what the movement of the torque tube is sounding like, which is gonna give you a real good idea as to what it's gonna sound like when you're going to do a test cut, and that way you don't even have to do test cut in a lot of cases. When I do work on the bench here, that's how I'm doing it, or I'm using the little finger hack. When I want you guys on the other end of the internet to be able to hear these things as well, you know, can hear it best when I put the microphone on my phone up to the torque tube. So that's why I do that for everybody, FYI. Anyway, so, you know, things are sounding great. I am gonna do some test cut with this now, and, you know, once I can actually hook it up to the lathe here and do a little test cut. And once I do that, I will post another video, of course, because I'm really expecting to see some fantastic grooves. This head is sounding great. I can drive it and it sounds great. I really do not expect for there to be any issues at all. So stay tuned for the test cut with 1.H, the feedback enabled, stylus heating enabled stereo cutterhead that I have been working on here. And you know, as long as everything goes well, this will be the final design, and I start to transition parts to metal, and we start to actually start selling these hopefully in the first quarter of 2016. So stay tuned.